Thank you. What an honour it is to be here today, speaking as the conference is drawing to a close. What cannot be doubted is what dedicated, passionate and skilled individuals we are across the many varied areas of nursing, and how we want the best for our patients and be the nurses we train to be. And that's why we took the brave move of industrial action, because we could no longer stay silent when our patients and our colleagues were suffering. And which is why we need to continue to fight and ensure that when we re-ballot, we send a resounding message to the government that enough is enough. We are not to blame for this crisis. It's years in the making. This is a crisis brought about by successive governments' failure to fund the NHS. Decades of managed decline and political negligence means our beloved NHS is on life support. The government now turns its back to us when we're the very healthcare workers who were applauded by the government. Matters now that we've become so desperate that we should be so determined to strike. We risk our lives to answer the call of duty to nurse a pandemic of unknown pathogen with inadequate PPE, who at the beginning we had nothing in our arsenal to treat them with. And yet as a reward, following years of pay restraint, we're expected to accept a shoddy pay deal that does nothing to address the workforce crisis or years of effective pay cuts. We've become Schrodinger's nurses, not important enough to be paid properly, but too important to strike. And as we've learned, this government would rather take the nurses to court. They prefer a courtroom to a negotiating table. Shame on them. It's a crisis starting with over 47 nurses short and a 20% drop in students' numbers. We've been experiencing hemorrhaging senior nurses with years of experience that cannot be replicated, and it's a callous disregard with which the nursing bursary was removed. A bursary that recognised that nursing students work on the ward providing essential care. Now students leave university with up to £50,000 worth of debt. It's a crisis where we recruit overseas nurses away from red list countries, and they and their families, if their families are allowed, arrive to be faced with a hostile environment, visa restrictions and no recourse to public funds. Most, quite rightly, decide to go to other more welcoming countries with better pay and recognition. And I'd like to pause at this moment to offer a round of applause for our international workers. Dennis Skinner said, I've had a United Nations heart bypass. I had it in a London hospital. I had a Malaysian surgeon, a Nigerian registrar and a Dutch doctor. And I tell the UKIP man, if you send these people back from whence they came, half of London would be dead within a week. This workforce crisis... This workforce crisis led to the Royal College of Nursing balloting members for industrial action, and for the first time in its history, Pat Cullen took the union and the members out on the picket line. We could no longer stay silent as we saw our colleagues burnt out and demoralised, recovering from the collective trauma of COVID. And we say, give us the dignity to survive financially so we're not struggling to make ends meet, and mentally so we're not in tears before and after our shifts. 1 in 3 nurses are skipping meals to feed their families. And as nurses, we treat our patients with dignity and respect, and we ask the government to do the same. It's a political choice not to pay all of the workers a fair wage. We've heard tonight across the board how we're all struggling, and yet there was 36 billion for the failed track and trace, 200 billion for Michelle Moan for PPE that was found later to be inadequate, or even the 4.3 billion written off by Sunak on COVID fraud. But like every dispute with our workers, it's not about pay but a safety at work. For as Pat Cullen said, patients aren't dying because nurses are striking. Nurses are striking because patients are dying on ordinary, non-strike days. Pat Cullen went to negotiation with the Tories and came back to the rank and file membership an offer that failed to address the years of pay restraint. With the brilliant organising done by Holly and many other amazing activists with NHS Workers Say No, the RCN turned out its largest vote ever to reject the pay offer. The fact that we were able to mobilise and get the vote out demonstrates there's power within us. It gives us hope, and the movement reminds me of the movement that Jeremy Corbyn inspired. A fairer, more just society for all, not a wealthy few. And just as in physics, it's shown that energy never dies, so the energy and hope that was inspired by Jeremy can be and has been transferred to the trade union movement. As the late, great Harry Belafonte said, "You can cage the singer, but not the song." And so we continue to fight. And we do this by recognising our strength in our solidarity. The media will try to divide us, questioning who is more deserving of pay awards. But we stand together as a collective, working across unions, raising awareness and stronger, united. As Howard Zinn wrote, if the workers of the world want to win, all they need to do is recognise their own solidarity. Because who is on the picket line with us? Other trade unions, patients and NHS campaigners. Notably absent some Labour MPs, but we won't go there. As we've seen more of our workers' rights stripped away, it's the fellow trade unions that are in our corner. The stakes are high, and what we're fighting for is the very survival of a publicly funded healthcare service, the NHS. Whose NHS?
Our NHS!
Exactly. A healthcare system formed in the transformative years of the Attlee government. The radical kindness that means no matter what you earn or where you're from, you deserve the best. The NHS, fast approaching its 75th birthday. It's the best of us, and across unions we need to stand together, we need to organise, we need to not call off strikes for talks, we need to build more democracy within the union. Speak to your colleagues, attend local trade council meetings, use social media, and let's smash this ballot and say nurses united will never be divided, workers united will never be divided. And I finished today with a quote from my absolutely favourite film of all time, Pride, which is all about a group of lesbian and gay activists that raised money for the miners' strike in the 1980s. When you're in a battle with an enemy that's so much bigger than you, so much stronger than you, to find out you had a friend you never knew existed, well, that's the best feeling in the world. Solidarity.